This would have held about 3,000 people. It's a theater that's still used today, actually. In the summertime, often they have dramas and plays and concerts that are here. Most of the seats here have been refurbished, remodeled. Here on the front row, you see some of the original seats. This is actually the stage that you're standing on, the platform area, and much of it is actually original. Down at the bottom, you see some of the original marble. You hear some of the acoustics that come when I turn around, how the echo begins to come through. And imagine with it all finished, it would have just been a fabulous place. But here at Caesarea, what I want to speak about is the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul went to Jerusalem in order to give the saints there the offering that had been taken. And when he was in Jerusalem, he had been warned not to go. And when he was in Jerusalem, they arrested him. And there was a mob really that was about to take over and take control of what was happening. And so they brought him here to Caesarea. What the charge is. And some of the very interesting words for this place, it says, on the morrow, when Agrippa was come with Bernice, with great pomp, and entered into the place of hearing with the chief captains and the principal men of the city, at the command of Festus, Paul was brought forth. And then Paul gives his defense. Now, where in the city would you have great pomp and the king and the governor and all the officials are gathered together, and there's this huge show and gathering, and Paul the apostle appears? Well, right here. And so Paul appears to the king, maybe the king sitting right there in the king's box, and he tells his story. It is that point at which Paul says, Agrippa says, you may remember those famous words, "Almost thou persuadest me." Almost. And he said, "Would you come back tomorrow?" The rest is history. From there, Paul ends up going to Rome. Eventually, he would be tried in Rome. But here he stands before Agrippa, he stands before Festus, and he gives his defense. His defense, by the way, is he talks about some charges against him. They say, "I've been causing riots in the temple." He says, "You can talk when I was just in the temple the other day, no riots. I didn't cause any riots. There's no evidence of riots." And it goes through 3 or 4 of the charges that were just crazy. And then he says, "But one thing I am guilty of, I am a part of this sect that they call the Way. I'm guilty of being in the way." And if he says, if that's a punishable offense, then here it is, I'm guilty. And I don't know if you and I will ever have the opportunity to stand before kings and princes, but we certainly can give our testimony against commoners all over the place, right? It may not take 200 horsemen and 200 spearmen and 70 others to get us in the middle of the night safely, but we can take our little Ford and go wherever we want to go and share our testimony unto the Lord and say, yeah, I'm guilty of that. I hope that when they put us on trial for that, that there is enough evidence to convict us. Amen?